Want to see more cool videos on our channel? We do, so press this bell and enable to send notifications.
These are the islands in our dreams, the dots on our globe that we know nothing about. Each has its own bizarre story of isolation, adventure, and discovery. Number 10. Kerguelen Islands, French Antarctica. The Kerguelen Islands are located 2,051 miles away from any sort of civilization. There are no native inhabitants of the island, but as part of the French southern and Antarctic lands, it's permanently occupied by 50 to 100 French scientists, engineers and researchers at any given time of the year. The main island of Kerguelen goes by the morose title of Desolation Island and is surrounded by almost 300 lonely satellite islands. Massive active glaciers cover the main island, which stretches nearly 100 miles long and reaches 6,445 feet at its highest peak. The islands are so very remote that even if there was an airport, the harsh freezing climate and icy terrain make it an undesirable location for visitors. The only way to and from the island is by ship, but if you take that, it would basically be the worst vacation ever. A cabin is €15,000 and the ship departs only 4 times per year, so plan accordingly. Number 9. Coober, Pedy, Australia. Back in 1915, a 14-year-old boy found a gemstone in the remote southern Australian outback. From this discovery, Coober, Pedy was born, a remote, fiercely hot place of a few thousand inhabitants today, sustained by its supply of opal and curious visitors. As a result of the intense heat, a number of miners living in the town have chosen to live underground, either in the beginnings of old mines or in purpose-dug underground houses. This has continued with much of the modern town being built underground. Among the local public buildings found underground are 3 churches, a bookstore, an art gallery, a bar and hotels. Opals can be seen embedded in the walls of some of these hotel rooms. The daytime temperatures of Coober, Pedy in the summer get so high that most sporting activities take place at night. Golf played with glowing balls is a popular pastime. The town's unusual and bleak landscape, made even stranger by the mining efforts, has made it an attractive location for Hollywood. Coober, Pedy has appeared in a number of movies, including Pitch Black, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and Red Planet. One must be careful in Coober, Pedy, however. The area around the town is riddled with pits and caverns dug in search of opals. This is especially true at night, when one is out playing a round of glowing golf. Number 8. Fula, Scotland. Silence doesn't exist. Even in the quietest corners of our planet, there are always sounds. At the summits of the calmest mountains, you'll invariably still hear a faint whistle of wind. In Britain, home to 67 million noisy people, silence has become one of our most precious commodities. You'd expect it would be near impossible to find on these busy shores, but within just minutes of touching down on Fula, one of our most remote islands, some 20 miles west of mainland Shetland, one could hear just a few, barely audible waves grumbling over a soundscape of nothingness. Silence to a British extreme that I'd seldom found before. Fula Island, part of Scotland's Shetland Islands, is home to a population of only 30 people who primarily earn their living as sheep and pony farmers. The island has been owned by the Holborn family for the past 100 years. Growing numbers of visitors are making their way to Fula as birdwatchers from around the world come to see its puffins, skuas, razorbills, gannets and more. Fula has some of Britain's highest cliffs, reaching 1,220 feet above sea level. The name Fula comes from the Old Norse for Bird Island. Inhabited since Neolithic times, the island is rich in historical significance and the community has a strong Norse tradition of folklore and music. There are great opportunities for birdwatching on Fula and a chance to join guided walks. Number 7. La Rinconada, Peru. Sitting nearly 17,000 feet above sea level, La Rinconada in the Peruvian Andes is the highest human settlement on Earth. Despite the lack of running water and the dizzying altitude, the town has amassed a population of approximately 50,000. La Rinconada has no sanitation system and no plumbing, making the entire community one of filth and destitution. Trash pickup is non-existent. Most people bury their trash outside of town or simply leave it where it falls. But what drove all these people to live in a city of isolation and filth? Gold. Word got out that the area around La Rinconada was chock full of gold. Between 2001 and 2009, the town boomed with a 230% increase in habitation. Without regulations, the mines operate under an informal structure called the cachorreo system. Miners work through the month for no pay, however after their shifts they can take home as much ore as they can carry, but they never know how much gold is in the ore. Isolated, filthy, poor, sad. There are few good words to describe La Rinconada. This is one remote community that's not worth a struggle to visit, even if the greatest fortune could be found in its hills. Number 6. Medog County, Tibet, China. Motuo, isolated in eastern Tibet as the only county with no highway link to the outside world among all of China's 2,100 counties, is the last county where the Brahmaputra River crosses over in China before it flows to India. As the remotest county in the southeastern part of Tibet, Motuo is located on the southern slope of the Himalayas. Covering an area of 30,550 square kilometers, the mysterious Motuo County is mainly inhabited by the Menba and Luoba ethnic groups, with a population of about 10,000. As a result, most of the local people, mainly of the Menba minority, are descendants of people who migrated from other places in Tibet more than 100 years ago. Although it's hard to imagine that one can enjoy tropical fruits such as bananas and pineapples in the snow-capped mountains, this really is the case in Motuo. Situated in the lower reach of the Brahmaputra River, Motuo boasts a typical subtropical moist climate. Meanwhile, standing 1,000 meters above the sea level on average, Motuo remains separated from the outside world by a halo of snow-capped mountains around it. Motuo State Natural Reserve is located in canyons at an average altitude of 750 to 4,800 meters and is home to numerous waterfalls and rivers, as well as rich flora from tropical to cold weather plants. As 1/10 of China's plant species can be found in Motuo, it has been dubbed the Natural Museum of Tibet, or Tibetan Botanical Garden. Plants from both frigid and subtropical zones are compatible and coexist on this small, isolated island. Number 5. Beaufort Island, Norway. For a place known as the loneliest place on Earth, a surprising number of people have tried to claim it. An uninhabited frozen isle halfway between South Africa and Antarctica, Beaufort Island is the most remote island in the world, and perhaps the most remote landmass in the world. Located 1,404 miles away from the nearest humans, the 271 people who live on the island of Tristan da Cunha, which is incidentally the most remote inhabited island in the world, Beaufort is not without life, though its vegetation is limited to lichens and mosses, and its only fauna are seals, seabirds, and penguins. For anyone who does end up near Beaufort, it's still incredibly difficult to actually set foot on the island due to the high glacial cliffs that surround it. The best way to get on the island is to fly a helicopter from the deck of a ship and delicately land on Beaufort's icy surface. Essentially, Beaufort is an ice-covered glacier surrounded in a hospitable lump. Yet it has been an object of national desire, had at least 3 different names, and is even caught up in a mysterious episode of international intrigue. In 1964, an abandoned boat was discovered on the island, along with various supplies. However, the boat's passengers were never found. The identity of the travellers is still unknown. In 1979, a bright flash of light was seen between Beaufort and Prince Edward Islands by the United States Vela satellite. Known as the Vela incident, it is now believed that the flash was caused by a secret South African-Israeli joint nuclear bomb detonation, though neither country has officially admitted to such. Number 4. Tristan da Cunha. No restaurants, no hotels, no credit cards, no safe beaches. This is the life of those living on Tristan da Cunha, the world's most remote populated island. These islands are in the middle of the Atlantic, in other words, the middle of nowhere. Tristan da Cunha lies 2,816 kilometers or 1,750 miles from South Africa and 3,360 kilometers or 2,088 miles from South America. The nearest landmass to Tristan is St. Helena, which is a mere 2,430 kilometers or 1,510 miles from the island. The first true inhabitant of Tristan da Cunha arrived in 1810 when American explorer Jonathan Lambert landed on the island and proclaimed himself as its ruler. Due to the strategic positioning of the islands, they were annexed by the United Kingdom in 1816. Today, Tristan da Cunha is thriving with a population of 267 people. These individuals have access to many major amenities, including a hospital with dental treatment, an operating theatre, as well as a grocery store. However, orders must be made weeks or even months in advance for grocery items, as everything must be shipped to the island from the nearest location. Though modernity has taken over, the remoteness of the island still causes many hardships. Traditional electricity is not available anywhere on the island. Instead, diesel generators are centrally located between cottages in the only town, Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. Tristan da Cunha seems like an introvert's paradise without any worries or anxieties. However, if this seems like a great place to settle down, be warned that the island is volcanic. Edinburgh of the Seven Seas sits at the base of a volcano that last erupted in the 1960s. So, if you love remoteness, cows, and the threat of volcanoes, Tristan da Cunha may be the right home for you. Number 3. Where Oasis, Egypt. As is the case with any true oasis, getting to Where is no picnic. Surrounded by hundreds of kilometers of empty Saharan desert, the remote village is best reached by a hired car or an overnight bus trip from Cairo. Tourists still make the trek to experience the community's idyllic palm groves, olive orchards, and freshwater springs. Only this year was a solar power plant erected in the town to provide electricity. There's no cell phone service, and the oasis's isolated position has allowed the inhabitants' tribal Berber culture to remain largely unchanged throughout the centuries. Number 2. Whittier, Alaska. There's only one road leading in or out of this South Alaskan town, and it passes through a 2.6-mile single-lane tunnel that shuts down at night. The population spikes during the summer months, but in the winter, Whittier claims around 200 residents. Most of the population lives together in a 14-story condominium building called Beggich Towers, which is also home to the town's post office, church, and corner store. And number 1, Palmerston, Cook Islands. The remote island of Palmerston in the South Pacific was first settled by the Englishman William Masters 150 years ago. Today, all but 3 of the community's 62 residents are the direct descendants of Masters and his 3 Polynesian wives, who happen to be cousins. Part of the Cook Islands, Palmerston is made up of sandy islets connected by a circular coral reef which sits too close to the surface for seaplanes to land safely. The ocean outside the ring is too rough, so the island is only accessible by boat. In addition to reaching Palmerston by yacht or tourist ship, visitors can also try hitching a ride on the cargo ship that delivers supplies to the island twice a year. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking the like button. Do share, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so you can catch up my next video.